well, certainly my reaction to listening to the interview was that a lot of their responses relied upon outside experts rather than talking about the merits of the policies. My broader reaction to the interview was Bret Baier did a terrific job, and then the dynamics of this were such that Vice President Harris, of course, had some messages that she wanted to get through, which focused not as much on her plans, but more on attacking former President Trump. She probably should have addressed more where they felt they had economic success. I think that would have been helpful. I think that would have been helpful to voters. There's this issue, and there's a broader issue in the debate. To what extent is she the personification of President Biden? And to what extent, of course, are the policies hers or the president's, or are they distinguishable? I think certainly certainly the vice president should have highlighted more where she would have different policies. These kinds of plans in the middle of a political campaign, they're a bit of wish list, and they're a little bit of pandering, but they're important. I also would highlight one of them, the $25,000 credit for first-time home buyers. It's clear that such a credit is going to have very inflationary effects with respect to the prices of starter houses. And it may lead to some entry into producing starter houses, but it's clearly also going to help inflate up the price of starter houses. You put a bunch of extra money in people's pockets, and it doesn't leave prices unchanged. Quite the contrary. And in some cases, it may be encouraging people to buy who really don't have the collateral needs to sustain that. This is, I think, one of the weakest aspects, actually, of the vice president's program. So first, because I think it will have adverse impacts on investing and the willingness to invest. I also think that with respect to kind of investments that people have made in the past, such a dramatic change in the rules of the game, I think, really undercut the credibility of policy, of the time consistency of policy in the U.S., and that's extremely important, as we've learned in a variety of contexts over the last decades. I think changing the rules in such a dramatic way. People recognize that marginal tax rates might change a little bit, for example, but changing the rules in such a dramatic way, I think, is really quite problematic. I also think that this particular policy regime would be very hard to implement. And I do think that middle class people ought to be concerned about the environment for business investing.